Could Trump actually save TikTok? Let's talk about it. But first, let's make sure you understand how we actually got here in the first place. Back in spring of 2023 is when we were first introduced to what is known as the TikTok bill. Now, it's important that we go back here because there are a lot of misleading headlines. And I think you should know why we're questioning our government, China's government, and TikTok. The original bill was about 50 pages. At the same time, you had this circus of a congressional hearing where the CEO of TikTok was grilled for like 5 hours by a whole bunch of people that clearly had never used TikTok. And they were also really making it seem as if this possible bill was a way to protect the kids. But what I learned from reading the bill was that it had nothing to do with kids, nothing to do with protecting our information, and this is a big one, it didn't even mention TikTok. Not once in all 50 pages did they mention TikTok or ByteDance. And while there was some language about protecting us from foreign adversaries, we can't not forget about our own trust issues that we have with domestic companies. Because again, friendly reminder of how Facebook was influenced by the government. Oh, and also how Russia just like stumbled across our information over there. And of course, let's not forget the famous Twitter files that Elon uncovered when he acquired what is now X. Instead of placing any liability on a company, even like TikTok, it placed more liability on a user of such application, us. And it would also grant permission for our government to access a lot of these data points that have nothing to do with this very application. It would have even made using a VPN illegal. Side note, what was most irritating about all of this was reading this entire bill, but then going and reading headlines and articles and even attending tech conferences where people had big opinions, and yet none of them had read the actual bill. Not even the reporters writing the stories about the bill. Fast forward, they did come out with a round two, and finally they actually mentioned TikTok and ByteDance inside of the bill. They cut the bill down from about 50 pages to 11-ish. They also put the liability on the company instead of the user, and they were very specific for their ask in that either you have to divest or you're done. And while version 2 was seemingly better, you can't just forget what version 1 looked like. And also, the presentation, the delivery, the communication was so seemingly uninformed that it was honestly the snowball of what continues to be an overarching theme with our government, which is a lack of communication and the constant question of, what are you not telling us? Because the reality is, China could very well be a threat. And even if they're not, saying that an internationally owned company can't have this much influence isn't actually an unreasonable ask. In fact, if we go back to the 80s, one of the most influential humans in traditional media, Australian-born Rupert Murdoch, actually had to become an American citizen in order to buy and own and run everything we know as Fox. But unfortunately, there has been so much noise, so much secrecy, so much distraction in and around this particular case that we can't help not but wonder, what is actually going on? Who can we really trust? And will Trump save the day for a platform that even he at one point wanted to ban?